Alright, what up guys? It's me, GamerGuyTV here, and welcome back to another video. Now, this video, you know, normally I do something for New Year's. I have been trying to remember for the past, week what I did last year for New Year's, and I literally cannot remember. Um, yeah. So, I know in previous years I've done a slideshow talking about the year, and I also know in previous years I've done like a photo video where it's basically just a slideshow of photos of what my year was. And this year, since I didn't really remember what I did for New Year's last year, I figured I would combine the two. But before we get started, I just wanted to thank you guys for an absolutely fantastic year. Whether you came to the YouTube because you found me on Twitch and wanted to, keep up with me during the school year while I wasn't streaming, or whether you found me off of TikTok when I was streaming, or whether you found me off of a YouTube stream or a Twitch stream. Regardless of how you found me, I just wanted to thank you for making this year just special. There's really no other way to describe it. It was a year like no other. And I know we all said that about 2020. But I'll get into a little bit more about how my year was. I just wanted to thank you guys for sort of being there. Well, not sort of. For being there, for watching my content, for watching my streams, whether it was YouTube or Twitch. Um, I've met a lot of you between the various different platforms I'm on. I think I'm at around 500 followers total, and that is insane. So I want to thank you guys. Now with that in mind, let's get into this video. So before I start talking about each month, the way I formatted this a little bit was going through each month and just sort of, there's one slide for each month. I can talk a little bit about what happened in January, or each month, technically. I just don't want to say each month a bunch of times. And there's one photo for each month, and I figured that would sum things up pretty well. I thought about doing 3 or 4 photos, but, me saying stuff is a little bit more valuable in this case than a photo. So the year started out with January. January was a pretty good month in general. I got a huge workspace upgrade. Absolutely huge. And this is the workspace I have now. Same monitors, same keyboard, same wall mount. Same camera, except that's on a different monitor now, over at my work desk. But, I got this amazing setup, and I really cannot complain with it. So that was most of the exciting stuff that happened in January. Obviously, there was, New Year's Day, but I didn't really go on any vacations, didn't, go out to a party or something. I was scrolling through my photos trying to find something for January, and a lot of what I found was just sort of pictures of homework that I had to submit. There was squash season, there was a physics project somewhere in there. But yeah. So January and then February, I'll get into this a little bit more on the February slide, but that was where a lot of the issues that based the rest of the year started. So in February, my dad and I adopted a kitten. He is just a absolute ball of energy. And he is very fun, very energetic, and has a lot of personality. But February was really where things went downhill. Um, in January and February, I had some stuff going on, and I turned to the world of gaming. Making YouTube videos, streaming, making TikToks. I was doing that more than I was doing my schoolwork, and as a result, my grades went down, and my teachers noticed. My physics teacher was kind enough to chat with me about recommendations for courses next year, and sort of pointed this out. And that was really my wake up call for what happens the next 3 months after February and what has happened the past 4 months of 2021. So, at this point in February, I'm still doing 4 videos a week plus a stream Friday night. So it was a lot, and you can see how I was focused a lot more on YouTube, TikTok. I don't think I was on Twitch seriously at that point. But this is where things went downhill, and towards the end of February, I got that wake up call from one of my teachers, and that was really do what I could until spring break, and then after spring break, I'll explain in a minute. February was also robotics season. We made it to the state championships, which was amazing. It was a very weird season due to COVID and just the pandemic, but it was worth it nonetheless. No regrets about that. So now we're into March. The photo here is a photo of the view of the city outside our mountain house for spring break. Trust me, it looked a lot more impressive in person. This was with my iPhone XR camera, so I was zoomed, it was blurry, it was dark. So I did what I could with this photo, but a lot of the important things that I remember in March were were the spring break trip. Which, as I'm filming this, I am now 2.5 months away from, it. That's crazy to me. It's crazy to me how fast time passes. It feels like I blinked and I was, it feels like I was on this trip, I blinked and now I'm here. But that was basically March. Like I said, I was doing what I could school-wise after until spring break, and then after spring break, I kicked into overdrive because I had to catch up on a lot of what I missed in physics because of streaming and gaming and a bunch of other stuff. So a lot of the spring break was middle of March. Early March was just sort of, weather's getting warmer again. I can go out running. I can do a bunch of stuff. We've got this kitten now, and, coming off of robotics season, actually getting my weekends back, getting a bunch of, getting a bunch of videos ready to pre-record while I was on vacation, sort of studying for those before break tests. And then late March was coming back from break, sort of kicking into gear, acknowledging what the next 2.5 months were going to be. And that leads us to April. So in April, early April, I took a trip down to Disney for a weekend. I didn't go into the parks, but it was just a nice sort of, de-stress, just relax, have fun vacation. And we got to see some really cool things, like this photo, which is the Swan and Dolphin Hotel at night. The bridge between them is lit up. It lit up like purple and blue, too. I just thought this green and blue looked cooler than purple and pink. April, a lot of it was really me hunkering down and spending a lot of time on physics. I forget. I think I took a screenshot of it somewhere. and I don't remember where it is, otherwise I would put it in here. But I believe if I had 9 tasks to do, or 9, like, homework assignments, theoretically, like, 6 or 7 of them were physics, because I was so far behind that I had to catch up. So April was sort of kicking into gear, trying to do that, and the end of April, we went back to just regular school. Like, no more hybrid, no more virtual. 5 weeks, fully in person for 5 days per week, which was a lot of fun, and I remember talking on this channel about it very fondly once I went back. I remember talking about how I didn't want to go back full time. I liked being virtual. And then I remember once I went back, I'm like, okay, this is nice. It's nice to see everybody again. It's nice to see the campus feel alive. Like, stuff like that. So then we get into May. Now, I took a trip up to a really cool golf course, and I got this sandwich on the way home. It is a really good sandwich. It is turkey, cheese, and it has fries stuffed in the middle of it. You can get coleslaw on it too, or sorry, sauerkraut on it, but I'm not a huge sauerkraut fan. So in May, a lot of it was really, again, just sort of hunkering down for the last month of the school year. I knew the last week of the school year was going to be finals, and that was virtual. There were no classes that day. I just had to turn stuff in. I mean, even the end of the 2022 school year, it's the last week is going to be finals, except they'll be in person. But, in May, I still did a lot of stuff. I tried out for a Frisbee team, which I ended up making, and we went to regionals. I was in a squash league. I had a final physics project that was taking up most of my time. My grandfather came up and visited. A lot of stuff happened in May because the weather was nice out again. Like, in March during spring break, it was still kind of cold. It was nice, but it was only like 60s each day. April, beginning to middle of April was like 70 each day, and it was awesome. And then by the time you got into mid to late May, it was like 80 degrees and humid, and it sucked. And it did not change until like October. But then we get into June, which is where things really get interesting. So I finished off freshman year, and finished off freshman year, got a good grade on the physics project, ended up getting the honors recommendation that I was going for. And this is when I started my volunteer internship. I'm gonna call it that. It's a volunteer position, but we'll say internship for now. This photo was from training week when we went backpacking. It is a stunning view off of these cliffs. And let me tell you, I am filming this the day before New Year's Eve, just because I know I have time. And I just had a soda, so like I'm chock full of caffeine, and I can tell a good story right now. But I'm sitting here right now, and it's like I will hopefully be sitting on these cliffs again in like 5.5 months. It is 5 months from Monday that it's the 5 months from Monday is the last day of school and the first day of summer. I'm not really counting down the months. It is just, and I'll get into this a little bit at the end as well. Sometimes school can feel endless, especially in the winter when it's cold out. Nobody wants to be outside, and the days are short, so it's dark for a while. Sometimes it just feels endless. And it is nice to have a mental countdown in my head. There's a reason I keep countdowns in the Discord, for me to check when things just feel super slow for me to be able to go back and see, like, okay, you know, time is moving. You know, I will get through this. Stuff like that. I don't want it to sound like I'm having mental issues or anything. I'm not. It's just sometimes it is nice to have a little bit of motivation in a hard time. Um, but yeah, June was really my volunteer internship. It was training week, and then I had like 2 weeks of camp in. I was a camp counselor. I had 2 weeks of camp in June and like another 1 to 2 in July and 2 in August. Um, but this was really most of my summer was this volunteer internship position, and I enjoyed it so much. Um, so yeah, when we get into July, like I said, I had 2 weeks of camp in July. I'm not gonna call it work because I didn't get paid. But I had 1 week of camp, or sorry, 2 weeks of camp in July, which was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it. I had 1 week beginning of July, week off, another week, and then I went to Minneapolis on vacation. That's what this photo is. There was a giant streetlight overhead, so it ruined the photo a little bit. But this was a view of the city. We stayed just slightly out of the city, but within walking distance, on campus at University of Minnesota. And this was the view of the city at night on one of their bridges. And it was awesome. It was like straight out of a video game. I cannot describe to you guys how cool that was. I also forgot to mention with June, that is when I became affiliated on Twitch. And then in June, I sort of stopped streaming, stopped doing YouTube and TikTok for a while, just because I had other stuff to do. I was working. While it may have been a volunteer position and I didn't get paid, it was the same commitment as a full-time job in the summer. Like 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, and I had frisbee practice and stuff like that, and I was busy. And that stayed the same throughout July. And then we get to August. This photo actually looks way better as I'm seeing it on this presentation on a 27-inch screen versus on a 13-inch screen. But in August, I went to the beach with one of my friends. This was the pier outside of our house. If I had the phone I do now, it would look really cool. But my XR still got a pretty good photo. I also went up to New York for a frisbee tournament, which was a blast. I have no regrets about that. No regrets about this beach vacation. And then also in August, I had 2 weeks of camp that I was working. Those were an absolute blast. I have no regrets about this summer at all. No regrets. So that was August. I ended off the summer in late August with an end of camp party. And yeah. Then we get into September. This was the AUDL championship for Ultimate Frisbee. I went to it. But basically, September was rough. Let me put it that way. I had so much fun in the summer, and the time went by so fast that it was really hard for me to go back to school after working so hard in the spring of freshman year to get a good grade on that physics project and get that recommendation for honors chem. Like, I had the relief of that off my shoulders, and then it felt like I blinked and I was right back in school. That's really how it felt. And that was hard. And I had driver's ed for like 3 hours a day every night for the first 2 weeks of school, which sucked as well. But if I could change one thing about September, it would be letting go. You know, I've kept in touch with some of my friends from my position over the summer. As of right now, I am going through the job application process there so I can get paid and stuff. But, you know, the one thing I would change would be letting go a little faster, and just kind of acknowledging that summer's over. And this advice actually applies to me now because as I'm sitting here at the end of winter break, facing 5 more months of school with very little break, um, you know, my my advice to myself in both September and now would just be, time has to go forward. You may not want break to end, but it has to. You know, my other advice would be don't spend the next month counting down the days until the next big break. You'll regret it. I keep countdowns in Discord for when the next stream is going to be. For you guys who are curious when the next stream will be. And I also keep it, again, for myself to just be able to check in from time to time to see that time is actually flowing. You know. So, September felt pretty slow because of that. I was coming off of summer. You know, school was starting back up, sophomore year, in person, difficulty ramped up. And because of all the stuff that happened last February, I didn't want to have to be, digging myself out of a hole like I was with physics. So, you know, this school year, I've been trying to do a really good job of studying and stuff. So that I didn't get sucked into streaming, I stopped streaming on Twitch unless I'm on break, like Thanksgiving, winter, spring, and obviously summer break. I'll do streams and stuff. And then, I've done that, and I'm only doing 2 YouTube videos a week. So that was September. Not a lot really happened. October, it was Halloween season, hence the decorations at this golf course, or at this mini golf course. But in October, I went to the beach. I got a new phone. October went much more smoothly than September. I also went back into work for the first time in 2 months, it would have been. So October was a pretty good month, and it went by pretty fast. I also started working in the press box for the football games, so I was handling a lot of the live streaming, and just a lot of, the microphone and tech stuff. So that was October. Again, it's school. There's not really a lot that can happen because I don't have the same amount of free time. Then we get into November. It's Christmas season, or everyone's starting to get ready for Christmas. Thanksgiving break is coming up at the time of this photo. I had 10 days or something. But I went ice skating. That's what this photo is. It's the sort of town center where the ice skating rink is. You can see it in the back if you look close enough. But November was Thanksgiving break. I didn't really travel during Thanksgiving at all, but, in November I had exams, and I had the nice, I had the nice break that was Thanksgiving break. But yeah. So then we get over to December. Which is the month we are currently ending. I remember when it was December 1st because that's when school went back from Thanksgiving break. It's crazy. To think that was 29 days ago. But, I caught up with some coworkers. We went to a theme park because they had like a special Christmas thing. Um, I went to Disney World. That's what this photo is. It's Galaxy's Edge, all lit up at night. Um, and then there was Christmas, and now here I am recording this. So the final thing I want to talk about before I end the video, because I know it's gone quite a bit longer than I thought it was going to, is what you guys can expect from me in 2022. So, going forward until the summer, we're gonna be at the same 2 videos a week and only streaming on breaks that I've been doing for the past like 4 months. It's held up fine. So, I'm not really that worried about it. Um, but yeah, so again, 2 videos a week. There may only be 1 video a week in January, because robotics season. We have Friday night practices, I think at least, in at least the second half of January. If something changes, I will put out a video about it. But for right now, plan on 2 videos per week. Also, plan on, again, only streams on, designated breaks. Like, the only real one until summer will be spring break. Again, I will post info in the Discord and stuff like that. But, I've really been focusing on school this year, and it's worked out really well. Grades don't come out for another week or so yet, but I think I did pretty well in the fall semester. And, 2021 was such a good year. I can't wait to see what 2022 has in store. Despite the pandemic and stuff, I managed to do a whole lot. So, I will be doing videos when I can. Again, I may have things come up. I may not be able to make videos. Things may shut back down again, and there may be a video that comes out about more than 1 video per week, or more than 2 videos per week, sorry. So, I've got a lot of exciting projects planned for 2022. Hopefully, I'll get some more time over spring break or over the summer to do a lot of the projects. But hopefully, you guys will stay with me in 2022 as well. 2021 was so great for growing my channel, and I cannot wait for 2022 and see where it takes us. So guys, I think that is it. So yeah, I think for right now, that is it. Like I said, 2021 was a great year. I'm a little sad about it ending because it means I have to go back to school. But, again, I'll keep up the countdowns in the Discord, especially because January and February, I always remember those as being like the longest months. Because again, everything is cold, the days are short. The days are getting longer, but they still just feel short. Like today, or I think tomorrow, sunset will be at 4:53, which still just feels early. But January and February always just feel long to me. March, it's only like 1 week, I think, and then spring break. So yeah, guys, thank you all so much for watching this video. I'm glad I was at least able to do something to sort of recap this amazing year. And if you're just joining the channel, I look forward to having you aboard for 2022. As always, thank you for watching. If you're not already subscribed, please consider doing so, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.